Hello. I'd like to talk today about a subject that has been in my thoughts for most of the 20 years I've been practicing law, and one that has become increasingly important as modern technology has made information and do-it-yourself form documents widely available. This is a question of whether it is even necessary to engage an attorney to handle one's estate planning, when so many do-it-yourself options are available these days. Naturally, as an attorney, I can be expected to look upon legal fees from a somewhat different perspective than that of my clients. At the same time, however, I myself have a rather strong do-it-yourself component to my personality, and am very sympathetic to the logic behind the question of whether it is necessary to pay an attorney to determine what estate planning steps to take, or to draft the documents to implement those steps. Over the years, however, experience has overcome my do-it-yourself tendencies, and I am now a firm believer in the need for involvement of experienced legal counsel. I hope that a brief discussion of my experience will be helpful as you decide whether to obtain the assistance of an attorney. When I began my legal career, the question was more or less an academic one for me. The clients of the firm where I was employed were often some of the wealthiest families in New York, who would hardly be inconvenienced, even by significant legal fees. During that time, however, friends or relatives who were getting married or having children would ask about wills and trusts, and I must admit that I was somewhat dismissive regarding the need for legal advice. If they asked me why an attorney was necessary, I might answer that I wasn't sure it was at all. After all, I wouldn't hesitate to do it myself, so if they just took the time to read up on the subject, there should be no problem. Later, when I moved to Virginia and began my own practice, I began to see wills, trusts, and other estate planning documents that had been drafted by non-attorneys, typically with the help of form documents. Sometimes a client would ask me to review documents he or she had prepared. More often, a surviving spouse or children would be asking me to assist them in administering the estate of someone who had prepared their own documents and recently passed away. This experience changed my view on preparing one's own documents from why not to absolutely not. I noticed over and over again that the documents I was reviewing would have one or more serious mistakes or oversights. In fact, I cannot recall even a single time that the documents did not have a mistake that cost the estate or the beneficiaries far more than the cost of even a very generously compensated estate planning professional. So, I had an answer based on many years of experience, but one that I did not feel was very convincing. If asked why someone needs to pay an attorney for estate planning when there are so many do-it-yourself form books available out there, I would only answer, well, don't do it because I know you'll make a serious mistake. If pressed to describe what kind of mistake, I'd have to reply, I don't know. Everyone seems to make a different mistake, and I am almost always amazed when I come across it. But I am certain it will be there, and that you will be lucky if it only costs you money. If unlucky, it may tear your family apart, in addition to costing the money. Now, as I mentioned before, I am a committed do-it-yourselfer. I would much rather play music myself than listen to even the greatest performer, or play a round of golf, rather than watch the pros on television. In this last year, this tendency has manifested itself in the area of home repair. I have spent most of my weekends doing extensive work on my home, refinishing floors, painting, replacing walls, and other projects. And this is when I really began to appreciate the value of what I do for a living. Over and over again, I discovered that every time I began a new project, things never quite went as planned. In fact, one of the first things I did was set up a space in my garage to practice working with the plaster, paint, whatever equipment I was using. Even then, when I moved into the house to perform the real work, almost every project began with a period of trial and error while I learned to do things correctly. All of these projects, however, were based on a simple concept, that no matter how badly things went, as long as I didn't mess with the electrical or plumbing systems, I could always clean up whatever I'd done and try it again. If things got too difficult, I could always call in a professional to clean up my mess and do it correctly. And this is the key difference with estate planning. Other than a nagging voice in the back of your mind that things might not be quite right, you will have no way of knowing whether the documents are perfectly correct or a time bomb waiting to go off. Sitting on the shelf, the world's greatest set of estate planning documents will be indistinguishable from the worst. Only when they are taken down and read will it become apparent whether they do the things that they are meant to do. And when will that day come? Typically, it will be a few days after it is too late, after you have died or become incapacitated and are unable to make any necessary changes. Therefore, I have two requests for anybody considering drawing up their own wills, trusts, or other estate planning documents. The first is simply, don't do it. You certainly do not have to hire me to do it, but ask friends, your financial advisor, your accountant, or someone you trust, and find a well-qualified estate planning attorney. It will be time and money very well spent if you value your loved ones at all. My second request applies if you decide to ignore my advice and do your own estate planning, or ignore the matter entirely. If that is the case, I would greatly appreciate your letting your spouse, children, or others close to you know that I am available to handle estate administration matters when the inevitable occurs. That is an engagement that I am certain will generate far more in legal fees than I would ever have made from estate planning. Thank you for your attention, and I hope this discussion has been helpful. If you have any questions regarding your estate planning, I invite you to contact my office to set up a free, no-obligation appointment to discuss how I can be of assistance.